Alright, so this is the review for the Earth 103, excuse me, graded assignment. First of all, you need to know that Earth is a sphere. Technically, it's an oblate spheroid because it's a little bigger around the middle. The reason the Earth is the shape that it is because, first of all, it rotates, and it was rotating as the early materials that made up Earth were cooling and solidifying. And we also know that the Earth has a greater circumference around the equator than the circumference around the prime meridian. Now remember that the equator goes around the Earth, so that's like belts. Okay, it goes around the middle. The prime meridian goes from the North Pole down to the South Pole and back to the North Pole. Okay, and so the Earth has a greater circumference around the equator because it bulges a little bit in the middle. If you want to prevent earthquake damage, a good way to do that is to build buildings that can withstand vibrations and shaking. Dust Bowl in the 1930s was caused by severe drought and the overuse of prairie land. All right, they farmed it, and then they farmed it, and they farmed it, and to the point where the nutrients were gone from the soil. There's a drought, so there's no water, and they couldn't get much of anything to grow, and then a lot of topsoil just blew away, and that's why it was called the Dust Bowl. Surface water can infiltrate into the ground. This process is called recharge. Okay. Saltwater intrusion is when salt water entering the aquifer because too much groundwater is removed from the aquifer. So, for example, if we have a coastal area and we have a bunch of hotels or houses or whatever, they all have wells pumping water out of the aquifer. If it's pumped out too fast, salt water could possibly intrude into the aquifer, and that's going to lead to salt water in the aquifer, and then when you're pumping your water out, it's going to become saltier and saltier. Alright, the main thing you need here is I typed this a little bit neater. Is this right here? Okay. So the stratosphere warms as you go up in altitude because excuse me, the UV radiation is absorbed by the ozone layer, and that warms it. The thermosphere warms with altitude because it is directly heated by the sun. So this is the information like you need to know for the next graded assignment. Okay. In general, just so you know, if you start here at the Earth or at the surface, we live in the troposphere. Okay. And as you go up and up and up, it gets colder and colder and colder. So say you were going up a mountain, it would get colder and colder and colder. All right, past the troposphere, it actually starts getting warmer as you go up because of the ozone layer. The ozone layer is absorbing UV light, and as it does that, some of it becomes heat, and so the stratosphere is warmed from at the top, and so as you go up, you get more and warmer. The mesosphere is heated from the bottom up, so as you go up, you're getting farther and farther from that heat source in the stratosphere, so as you go up, you get colder and colder. In the thermosphere, you get warmer as you go up because the sun is directly heating the thermosphere. All right, and that brings me to chemistry. Oh, wait. wish there was a pause. All right, so climate is, of course, long-term conditions. So if you were studying long-term weather conditions over many years or decades, that would be, you're studying climate. If you're comparing this summer to last summer to the summer before that, that's climate studies. If you're calculating average rainfall for multiple years and comparing them, that would be climate that you're looking at. Okay. Okay. If for some reason there was a global decrease in plant diversity, well, what's going to happen? One thing that's going to happen is there's going to be a decrease in animal populations, because if there are fewer plants or fewer types of plants, then there's less food for the herbivores. And if there's less food for herbivores, there's going to be less herbivores. And if there's less herbivores, there's going to be less carnivores that eat the herbivores. So let's hope that doesn't happen. There are places where animals graze, and that's generally not a bad thing. But if animals are allowed to graze in the same area for too long, cows, cattle, horses, whatever, they can actually compact the soil, especially if it's kind of loose soil to start with, and that's going to cause the soil to be less absorbent to rainwater. And so you're going to have more runoff, and if you have more runoff, you're going to have more erosion. All right. That finishes up the review for 103. I'll see you tomorrow in class.